have payroll ready for you.
Okay, wait a moment. You have to say that again because I just cut the last part and that was
Oh, so
gold.
Oh.
That was gold.
How many accountants do
Go.
you don't have a sense of humor?
Lily, if you wanna get paid, you wanna receive your payroll check. You are very knowledgeable. Just remember now, learn to your insurances. Then you will have your paycheck every other week. No, just kidding. For all of us, no. I think right now is the insurances are taking over the games. So the more we don't give reasons for insurances to deny our services and get that money in the first time that the bill goes out, the better for our industry that is, being cut, the reimbursement so bad. Now, here we go again. Blue Cross Blue Shield and I'm Better. We cannot bill the 97164 with other CPT codes. It's a no, no. So it automatically denies, and we cannot appeal. We already tried. They send us letters reviewing, and they will not approve, even if you have a justification, even if medical justification. No, it doesn't get paid. So that is like per contract, because we have a contract with them. We accepted their requirements, and for them, the 97164 doesn't go through with other CPT codes. I'm Better and Blue Cross Blue Shield, most of the plans, they do not require pre-authorization, so that's why, they can say we are not gonna pay. Blue Cross Blue Shield and Humana Map, when we build the 97530 and the 97140 on the same data service, they automatically deny the 97530. I'm not saying that you cannot build those two codes together. What you need to know is that we build those two insurances electronically, so they request medical records. For every data service that you are combining those two codes, we submit medical records. I want to say 98% of the ones we submit medical records, they get paid. However, there is like 1 or 2% that is coming back. They have an insurance reviewer that does read your medical record, and if it doesn't justify the minutes with the exercises, sometimes we even send the flow sheets. That's why it's very important that you check off your flow sheet, because they ask for it. Then they review it, and if it doesn't match, they will deny it. U.S. Department of Labor, 2018, they started that it requires pre-authorization, the 97164. So all the pre-authorizations that we sent are CPT code driven, and the 97164 is one of them. And it cannot be billed together with other CPT codes. So if you get approval for the 97164, because you eventually are going to bill for a reevaluation, once you get the authorization back, it's only the reevaluation that can be built on that data service, because if not, you're going to be losing. They're not going to deny it, and we cannot appeal. Even though we have another authorization, they will not pay the two together, the reevaluation with other CPT codes. Workers' comp, 4 units only, because you are billing a lot of them, more than 4 units, and then we are submitting write-offs. It's like 4 units only. That's across the board, all workers' comp. So we are sending write-offs, and it's especially on the workers' comp. Medicaid, refer to EOB attached. Sorry, so on the attachment, if you go, there is this one, IMO. So on this one, I'm going to show you two. So is this one right here, the IMO? So this is the pre-authorization letter that we received, and then on the first asterisk, it has the CPT codes that were authorized, the 97110, the 97530, and the G0283, and then it gives us from what date to what date, the range, and then highlighted in yellow is 12 sessions, but then in another paragraph where the arrow is stating 45 to 60 minutes. So that's what they are recommending, and they even say 75%, do you see the 75% of the modalities should be active. So workers comp, they are very, especially SORM is one of just the G code, the 10-day G code, they are looking for those. Now the EOB, this is, IMO is the administrator for the pre-authorizations department for SOR. So the insurance carrier process that, the service that was built on date of service August 16th. We built 4 units, as you can see, 1, 1, and 2. But the CPT code 97140 was not on your pre-authorization. So if you go back to the authorization letter, it was only 97110, 97530G0283. We had brought it to your attention before where the therapist needs to initial and put it on your plan of care, the CPT codes. But I think you're just initialing, and it's not only to initial it, but to pay attention to what CPT codes are being approved, because we don't see this, insurances have 30 to 45 days for us to receive them, and 30 days already 12 visits went through on that patient's plan of care. So by the time that we find out, this patient has already 10 visits with the 97140. So it's just too late for us to come back and notify you. So workers comp, please make sure, and I know Lydia's gonna talk about that in a little bit, but that's an example of the CPT code. And then you have another one on the back, so it is double-sided, I guess. So on the other is where you are billing 5 units, and they only pay 2 units. So again, I know you have a lot of information to process on your plan of care and all that, but if you don't take the time to review your pre-authorization, especially when it's driven by CPT codes, and how many units were allowed per date of service, you are just not gonna get paid. On Medicaid, the 97164 cannot be billed with other CPT codes, and it does require pre-authorization. And so Shole has, on the U.S. Department of Labor and the Medicaid, because you need to bill for a reevaluation, you all can substitute it with the 97530 for the 97164. And Shole, I don't know if you want to say anything on that.
It's just, you have to do that's why with U.S. Department of Labor, workers' comp and Medicaid, we really highly recommend that you do 60-day plan of care, 60-day, plan of care. Because if you don't, you get caught up before you know it's finished, and you have to do a reval if it expires, but you can't charge it. So if you get caught in that situation, my advice to you is to recoup your time through the 97530, which is a functional code, and because you did functional testing and you did patient education on the functional testing, all of that can be recouped very ethically in terms of, but you have to put a 0 on the reevaluation because you can't put both together.
The last one that we have is the new episode of care for the evaluation, reevaluation, and remember on the laminated, we put a red dot. I don't have a copy of that one that it is showing. On this red on this red dot. On this one we are making quite a lot of mistakes every month across the 3 clinics. This is all 3 clinics. So on this, the 91, when the patient is here after between 91 days and 179, so it is before 6 months, 180, 6 months. So after 3 months, but before 6 months, It is EPPTS position that we, because of the insurance regulations that we have on this handout, that we are gonna bill for the reevaluation. However, the therapist, because that patient is coming back as a returning patient, they want to do an evaluation because they don't wanna transfer or carry over the medical information or the history that is on the previous reevaluation history. So they are asking the front office to, on the visit type, to bring them as initial. They do the report. They need to charge for a reevaluation. Where we are failing is, and I recommend the OCs to be more creative and put like something that is catching their eyes, that they need to bill for a reevaluation, because what is happening, they are billing for an evaluation. It's been submitted, the billing, by the time that I'm balancing, like today, yesterday, or today I balanced for November's. There were 4 patients total for the company that went bill with an evaluation, and now I need to submit a corrected claim for a reevaluation. And when that happens, as it is, it takes time for the appeal to go out and then come back. And if they have a secondary insurance, then we need to appeal for the secondary insurance. So for us to collect the correct amount, is taking us, and sometimes we don't even get the insurance to understand what happened, why are we submitting, and that's when they classify us as fraudulent billing, because we are over billing for a evaluation that was billed already 3 months ago. So please be careful, and I need the front office to help your professionals in this issue, because we have several months already, if not almost a whole year, where I need to submit corrected claims. So that's the last section. Do I even need to go? Oh, that's leading?
Lydia, you do this next. All right, Lydia and I are gonna give this portion of it, and this is your insurance authorization document related to treatment. Okay. Wanted to share a small story regarding co-pays with MAPS. Especially West Side, that's now starting to have an escalation on MAPS over there. Had a lady who truly looked poor, skin tissue, clothing, face, the whole thing. She had a $45 copay. I had learned that from a previous occasion, is patient kept questioning me, I don't have $45. I said, sir, I don't know, someone sold you this insurance carrier, blah, blah, blah. What I ended up finding is I was so determined with that other gentleman that I wanted to find out why he had a $45 copay. I told him, someone sold it to you. Try to find it. He was determined. He found it. I called this gentleman who sold him the insurance, had no idea what I was talking about. I said, sir, you sold him this insurance. I have your card here with you. And I said, who do you report to? I said, because he has a $45 copay and he wants to know why it's so high. He has to come here 3 times a week. He had surgery. So his response was, oh, well, and I dug a little deeper. So he sent me to somewhere in Wisconsin, and I called. So I'm now speaking to someone in Wisconsin who's very articulate. I said, okay. Anyway, what I found out, I had date of birth, I had access to everything. So when he looked up his name, he says, ma'am, he's got land in Mexico. He's got assets in Mexico. So we bring that in. We combine that as an asset, and therefore this copay is higher. Said, fine and learn, told the gentleman, and he validated. When this little older woman, this next occasion occurred, I said, she's got to have assets. Can't be any other thing. I already went through this. And when I told her, in Spanish, I said, do you have any land in Mexico? Now, mind you, her husband had just passed away. her answer was this: well, yes, it's, you know, my husband has land in Mexico, but it's from the other lady, la otra mujer. My heart just broke. And I said, Senora, there you have because this is under your husband's name, and you picked up his assets, you are being held responsible. I said, my advice to you is sell that piece of land. And what good is it gonna be? That girl lady was gonna keep going. So these are real stories that happen with these high copays that you all have to face. And I wanted to share that because you need to know where those are. Now, those people who have no copays, it's because they don't have any assets. That's why Medicaid picks, they code them as zero copays, and then they go up to, what's the next lowest? There's 10 still around, $10 copays for low. And then, of course, you're 45 and 50, it's because they have assets somewhere. But keep in mind that that's something you need to know. Tuck it in the back of your brain. It occurs, it happens, and as we move on, it's important that we tie that in. Okay, so going on with the insurance authorization, the reason why we have to be looking at that authorization is that if we don't, we have a potential cause for what we call a malignant growth in your revenue within the billing cycle. She told you she needed money for your payroll. So we need to help her. We need to say, okay, upon approval, we want now the professionals to continue to initial the approval, just like she said, cross-reference the CPT codes that have been approved, and then link it in. If you do not cross-reference it and you carried it in your evaluation for you therapists who are new to our practice, and you assume that you can do it, it's just not going to get paid like you saw in the EOB. So what we're doing here is, Lydia, go ahead for requesting.
I just wanted to go over, so that way you know how when I'm requesting the authorizations, where I go and what I look for, so that way you know where to put it in your documentation. So the request for the treatment, it's per listed CPT codes are submitted to the insurance carrier based off of your initial evaluation or your current reevaluation, and it's under the intervention section. Once the authorization is received, do not add any other CPT codes during your current authorization period. The reason being is since that initial eval or the re-eval was used to get the authorization and the codes are taken from the intervention, that's what the actual approval came back under. So if during that treatment, let's say it was approved for 12, if let's say after 6 visits you decide you want to increase their treatment or you want to do something else, by adding an additional CPT code, we're not actually having the authorization for those visits during that time. So that's what we're requesting during that time. If don't add any during that specific period. A new CPT code can only begin with an updated reevaluation. With an updated reevaluation has been performed, and await the new authorization to determine if the added code has been approved. And then, like I had mentioned, I'll go to the intervention section only because I've seen some where it's like in the intervention section, but then in the treatment, if you end up adding it, it doesn't really go onto the intervention section unless you go into that section, right? Unless you actually go into there. So that's where I actually look to request the codes that for that specific authorization period.
So in summary, it's your intervention code. The most common one that we're seeing is that you don't include ultrasound in the intervention code or gait training. I've seen that. And then during the course of that period, you want to insert 97116, which is gait, or you want to insert ultrasound, and that was never requested because it was never in your initial intervention plan. So she goes directly by that, and then that's what, then you have to still cross and see if they approve it. There's a few insurances that won't give you everything you wrote down on your intervention plans. Be aware of that. All right. As we transition into the next section, I just want to tell you that in January, as you can probably, oh yes. Yes,
say if like we wanted to introduce like paraffin bath
yes.
to the patient's treatment and it wasn't like initially, set in their, I guess, insurance authorization. And a lot of times we don't even bill for it anyways, like if we want like 4 units and then maybe we build the 5th one for the paraffin and we just get rid of it anyways, like do we still have to put it in there or?
You know what, Mike, I understand what you're saying. but I wouldn't do it. So, it's not in your plan of care,
Okay.
number one. Can it be done and has it been done? And then the note in C, but if you're absent because you got sick, then nobody knows not to charge it, that's one. Because we all used to do that. So I just recommend that you don't. What I do is hot packs, don't have to put hot packs on everything. I put hot packs on my intervention because I don't get paid anything anyway, so I'll put hot packs there. Alyssa taught me a little trick. She said, Chole, I just put ultrasound in case I need it. Chances of needing it are very low, so maybe with a hand automatically put paraffin even though you don't use it. Okay, that might be a suggestion that I could make in reference to that. And then when you get to your treatment, take ultrasound out because it's not in your plan, it's not in your flow sheet, just delete it. Know that it's always there to tap into as your paraffin wax units are, okay? Make your daily notes as clean as possible on the treatment section. Okay, so we have come to an end on the insurance component of it. We're now going to apply all our knowledge to just fine-tuning the operation of our company a little bit more. Do know that in January, because of what you just heard, we're going to anticipate that you as physical therapists are going to have to move, just like we did last year. And Rudy and I spoke about this morning, and Isaac, is that we're going to do everything we possibly can to anticipate where y'all are going to move to instead of trying to do it at the last minute. But of course, your daily huddles with your OCs will also make that final call. But just be ready. I think that's important. See, we know that Medicare is going to come survey us. We do, by virtue of the fact that HV is opening up. They already notified us. We just don't know when Novitas, because you all know who Novitas is now, reports it to Texas, and we just don't know when Texas has it scheduled. They can come. One time the surveyor told us, and I think Armando was present, they had a complaint two complaints in the city of El Paso. So when they flew her to El Paso to address the two complaints, they said, go ahead and survey El Paso Physical Therapy Services while you're there. So that was an interesting, so they could come anytime. With that in mind, I am going to really need to pull out of patient care 50% of the time during the first 2 to 3 weeks of January so that I can get ready. Monica and I have a huge book. We are going to bring your book down to, really, we're going to sandwich it down because it's too fat and it's just not worth it. We're thinking it. We have an idea. It takes time to carry that out. I'm going to need to tap into a lot of you who are talented in areas that we're not talented in. I know who you are. And you have so gracefully said yes so many times. So I'm going to tap into you all so that we can get this notebook smaller, get everything ready, all our documents ready to be able to successfully pass the survey. So I want to anticipate that. And then for the month of December, we do have professionals that we've already pre-approved to leave the last week of December. So with that in mind, we're going to really be moving that Christmas week. On top of that, I hate to say this to you, Rudy, but HV has priority because we need Isaac's brain moving the entire clinic along with Armando and Rosie. Just so we need to help them. So if one clinic's low, just the day before, just if you guys can handle it with 2, let go of 1 and go give them some help. Rudy, the same with you. Amanda's gone, so we'll do the same. She'd come second. And we have where's Cassandra? We found ways to help you on that Friday that Amanda's gone. So we're really need to keep up the numbers. We're going to take it all the way to the end. With that being said, let's take only 3 minutes of a break, and we go on to the next section. I'll set 3. Oh, by the way, this, some of you don't know, this chimes 5 minutes before it's over. 1 time, and then it chimes 2 times. 1 short and 1 long.
make sure there's no.
She's living at her own house, and my sister is that's on the she shouldn't be by herself anyways. Also, like for those patients that have been on station, I know sometimes you're like on there, they can't do all this re-eval and stuff like that. I know that's what they're like that too. They'll put on like, re-eval for the
Well, it just depends on what you. I don't know, because you're talking about full different genetics. Full different. And what is it? Asthma.
It's a plasma. No, I don't.
See, those are, you're talking about, okay, one layer. Now, if you can find some kind of software that you can
It's interesting that stuff
put
that
in the
you're saying
motherboard of
doesn't
the
make sense now.
TV that makes those LEDs emulate within
All of like my elbow, neck, like all these like things that I put together are like these plans that are like glowing.
Oh, pretty, you're I know, you're.
Yeah, like those already have all the interventions, so I just go in there and I make sure that all of them are covered. But a lot of times, you know, I guess like with the pre-authorization, those codes are not even in there.
No, they're not.
So,
So she doesn't even ask for them.
exactly, so I shouldn't even have all those in there. So,
Okay, let's go ahead and reconvene. I don't think so our next speaker is Rudy, and some of it we already went through at the November 13th meeting. And then, but a lot of it is to try to pull it together in terms of 2019 operations.
All right, so here we go again with clinic operations, and why is it so important? You know, it's always been important, but in this, and I go back to the PPS conference because they always give us so many gold nuggets to bring back every year. And so one of the ones that I saw was the 4 disciplines of execution. You know, this is by a Fortune 500 company, IBM, and the four principles of execution require that we execute something. We have as therapists, as front office people, as OCs, we have a whirlwind of problems happening. Every day we walk in, it's a whirlwind. And then we have to execute certain goals. And so where do you put those goals in that whirlwind? Well, because of repetition, and I'm sorry if I sound repetitive today, but this requires repetition. Execution requires repetition. So, having said that, back in the last professional meeting we talked about PT and receptionist collaboration and evaluation. This is so key to bring us into 2019 so that things run smoothly and seamlessly, so that we don't have to stop and say, what do I need to do? So having said that, patient commitment at time of evaluation, we have to review frequency and duration and then escort that patient to the front office. I see this happening, but I'd like to see it even more. I haven't gone to the other clinics, and I promised myself that in 2019 I'm going to go around, just kind of checking to see if it's being executed. And so we need to make sure that the patient goes to the front, not only to go to the front and tell the receptionist, she needs to come in 3 times a week. We need to say, this is so-and-so, needs to come in 3 times a week, and it's going to be Rudy, Anthony, so that the receptionist knows what to put on there. Because if he doesn't know, then it's not going to be seamless when somebody else covers for that certain therapist. Okay, so you inform the receptionist of frequency per week and determine who your colleague will be in your absence, or if a patient will be co-shared with a PTA. Very important that we do that, because I was gone yesterday, for instance, and if my patients didn't have Rudy, Amanda's not going to see those patients. It's not going to be put on Amanda. It's going to be put on Anthony, because it's not going to have anybody but Rudy / Anthony. If I had known I was going to be out, I would have put / Anthony, or Amanda, I'm sorry. or a therapist. Asterisk, asterisk means another therapist is gonna see your patient, correct? Remember that? I don't see, okay, good. So, the receptionist, determination will be entered into schedule screen. Everybody knows what that schedule screen is, right? You've looked at it. I know the front office has, the clinicians, do you all know where that screen is? Yes? And on there, it should say on the first line, it should say Rudy / Anthony, or Rudy / asterisk asterisk Anthony, or Rudy / asterisk asterisk Amanda, or just Rudy, right? Of course, Rudy doesn't work in your clinic, don't put Rudy. So, is that as clear as mud for you right now? Good. If you have any questions, please stop me. Now, the classification part, we know that a double forward slash means and represents patients pending authorization. If that patient is pending authorization, we want to see those forward slashes, please, so that the front office knows when to schedule that patient. One backslash represents provider or providers assigned to that particular patient, like I mentioned, Rudy / Anthony or Amanda. An example, only PT and another professional in your absence, Amanda / asterisk asterisk Rudy. That needs to be there, guys, please. I'm asking the 3 clinics to follow this to the T, because we just did some random checking and all 3 clinics are missing out on this. I just checked yesterday for the week before, and all 3 clinics are not 100% on this particular item that we need to do and execute. So OCs, your job today to go back to your clinics and let the receptionist know that you guys, if I come up to the front and say, Cassie, I have this patient 2 times a week, put Rudy Anthony. If I don't tell you Rudy Anthony, ask me, who's your colleague gonna be? Please ask us so that we can include it, okay? Isaac, the same. Go forward. If Diana doesn't ask you, who's your colleague gonna be, make sure that you tell her. My colleague's gonna be so forth, so on, okay? Eric or Christopher right now. All right, so in the PT and PTA co-shared, that's easy. Amanda / Anthony. I'm gonna use Rudy. Rudy / Anthony. That doesn't mean they're receptionists, put them all on Rudy. That means whoever's the slowest at that time, that patient can go to either. Of course, if Rudy has eval, re-eval, progress note, G-code, discharge, and you have a patient with Rudy Anthony, that goes to Anthony, and so forth. But if Anthony has 15 patients on the schedule and Rudy only has 2 evals and a re-eval, then bring some patients over to this site. So make sure that your receptionist and your OCs are working with that closely. Okay. All right, classification if patient requires authorization for treatment. All of the above examples with a double forward slash in front. For example, like I said, forward slash Amanda / asterisk asterisk Rudy. That means only Amanda's gonna see that patient, but in her absence, Rudy would. But we're waiting for authorization from the insurance. That has to be as clear as a crystal ball. Classification at time of reevaluation. If frequency per week will change, escort the patient to the front desk again and inform the receptionist of the change. We're going from 3 times a week to twice a week. And the colleague will remain the same. All right? So make sure that we're carrying that message to the front and all the way to the front. Objectives of the above, if we follow this, it emphasizes commitment to the scheduled visits that that patient has. And that way we meet our visits that we are needing to meet, as well as making sure that there's engagement with the patient. When a patient calls, this allows the receptionist to efficiently reschedule a patient that calls to cancel an existing appointment. So if a patient calls and it's under Rudy, and they say, I'm gonna cancel my appointment, she'll look and schedule and say that it's Rudy Anthony, then she'll know that where we're gonna put that patient next time. It's gonna be the Rudy or Anthony, depending on who has these patients, right? And so the receptionist will already know. But if you don't have that there, and you don't have a colleague, then that patient might get lost in the shuffle. Especially when you have a third therapist coming over to cover for that particular clinic. All right, so the third thing, the third objective, this procedure strengthens continued patient engagement with therapists for continuity of care. We have to make sure that we give gold standard care to our patients, so that we engage them and we have good outcomes and we continue with that care for that patient. Moving forward, we talked about programs and services. We're not going to start a niche program in 2019. As you all well are aware, we started through Children's Efforts a posture program for 2018. We're not going to do a niche program. However, we are going to emphasize the existing program services to increase visits in 2019. And that is everything we have, plus posture program, dry needling, and BFR. Our color coding system below will be utilized for tracking purposes and utilization analysis. Posture program should be blue. If you haven't seen it, if you have a posture patient that's not blue, make sure that you know, as a clinician, where to go to change it. Don't expect the front office to change it for you anymore. We can go in. Does anybody know where to go there? And if not, we'll go over in just a little bit.
Change the colors?
Mm-hmm.
I've never done it.
Okay. Very simple procedure, and we'll go over it. Dry needling is blue-gray, BFR is red. That really helps EPPTS to track how many patients we have, because if the east side has 30 BFR patients and HV has 1, then who needs a BFR machine? We're gonna have to we're gonna buy it for HV. So for the east side, right? So that's what it's gonna give us. It's gonna give us who's utilizing it more, who requires another machine, and why. As well as for the dry needling. For the posture program, we're asking that we continue to keep that alive in our system by asking the patient or telling the patient, you know, you're a good posture patient. I'm going to write down in my progress note that we're going to start you on a posture program, and just send it to the doctor via progress note, because that way the patient takes it to the doctor approves it, and even if he doesn't, when he signs off on that progress note, guess what? Your posture program is approved, because you wrote it on there. Okay, so let's do a group review on laptop. I was going to break up into groups, but I don't want to do that anymore. We don't have time. However, if you don't know how to do this, I'll explain it to you. And then maybe somebody can show it on a laptop.
Are you talking about when you go to the edit appointment and it automatically changes the color?
Not automatic. Well, you add it, you go to the scheduling screen, you go to edit appointment, you hit more, it's a down, drop up arrow, and then it'll give you the services and what you want to change it to.
Okay, so yes, I do know how to do it.
Ah, there you go. Everybody know that procedure? All right, good. So moving on, clinic operations continues in that, you know, we have a requirement, and that is completion of the next physician visit appointment. That is so important. We talked about this last time, that the front office has to include what the next physician visit is for that patient, because that'll give us an idea as to when we're gonna send any documentation out. That's entered either through edit episode of care or to the daily visit screen. Everybody know where that is? All right. Many times though, I'll have a patient that tells me, I don't have a follow-up visit. I have no idea. He just told me to come here. Well, then what do you do in that case? That box has to be filled out. It can't be left blank. And we talked about this last time. You refer to the next physician visit box. Sorry. I'm almost done. If there's no scheduled physician visit, enter the date equal to the authorization that expiration date that Lydia gives us. That way, at least we have someplace to go with that. Okay? Make sense? Okay. So, the value of a progress report. Boy, we really need to increase our value in that progress report, guys. I'm included in that. We need to really convince the physician that this patient needs to continue with that treatment, and why. We need to make sure that our documentation is appropriate. It reflects our commitment to providing gold standard of care for the complete episode of care. Absolutely, if we make a good progress note. It reflects your understanding of providing standard of care within insurance limitation. You have 6 visits, we're on the 3rd. Are we gonna send the doctor another note that we need because he only gave us 6? No, we have 3 more to go. So, like Shirley said, Be aware of when you need to send a progress report to the doctor or when it needs to be for insurance authorization. And then state it well. It provides the physical therapist name recognition with a referring physician. You'll start seeing your name. I went to visit a doctor just recently, a new one. A couple of doctors, and one of them said, yeah, I recognize your name on the progress notes. Okay, good. So we're there. So that's very important. It also allows, that value of the progress report allows physicians to think EPPTS first regarding care for their patient without insurance explanations. They don't need to ask the patient, well, I hope you're on their network, and they don't even know that, it's the front office, but they need to make sure that we will take care of the patients without them having to worry about anything. And so the continuum of care for the patient and depending on us, that are depending on us for that recommendation. The physician doesn't want to hear that the patient can do 50 degrees range of motion into forward flexion. He wants to know, where are we going from here? You're the therapist. Tell me, do you need more? Do you want to discontinue? Where are you taking this patient and how are you going to take that patient to the end? So make your recommendation based on your knowledge, because we're all therapists, we've all done it, we all know how to do this. So please, for the continuum of care for the patient, let's make that recommendation to the doctor. Let's not leave it up to him. So, I am done with my repetition. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Chelsea will be giving the next section.
I do gotta go a little bit lower though.
Small.
Okay.
Okay, so, adopted PT rule amendments. So in the foreseeable future, PTs can do telehealth visits, but you have to obtain consent from the patient, and it's a one-on-one session, and then a PTA cannot provide telehealth services. Also, any new licensor, like you want to get a new license or you want to renew your license, not only do you have a criminal history record that you have to go through, but you have to submit fingerprints. And you can do this through Indigo in El Paso. I think that's the only place in El Paso. Okay. Oh, that's number 1 and number 2. Let's go to the next page. Okay. You still have to submit your continuing competence to the Texas Physical Therapy Association, but it's not going to be in the rules anymore. Like, their name is not going to be in there, but you still have to submit to TPTA. And then last one, just talking about fines and penalties for negligence in therapy. I would just suggest to be very careful in therapy. But if you do have something that is reported to the board, you're gonna have to go through this whole process that may or may not result in fines and penalties. So I would highly encourage all of the professionals to go and read this section here to avoid fines and penalties and anything on your licensure, because that's scary.
That's
It is. So that's it. Mine was quick.
There are 4 of you who expired this year, Anthony and Rudy. You died, and then who are the other 2? Your license expired in 2016, 2018. I saw them.
Anthony and I may.
In May. I'm sorry, no, not this year, next year. Sorry, my bad.
I was like, wait.
Next year, there's 4 of you, okay, there you are. So then it's Mike and Eric, but Anthony and Rudy are the first ones. Now, for the first ones who are gonna pioneer this process, I think it's really important that you all understand that fingerprinting does take time. It's not like, it's not like it used to be where you could take your jurisprudence exam the night before, and as long as you got it at 12 o'clock, you could practice the next day. It's not gonna be like that anymore. So the nice, we did some research, as you know exactly where to go, we wrote it in red. Sandra did some research for us, and it is taking 5 to 7 days for the fingerprints to arrive to the FBI and to the Department of Public Safety. They then have to send it to the agency who's requesting it, which is the Texas examiners. Do not wait till the last minute on this one. My advice to you is if your license expires in May, all that taken care of. Rudy brought up a good question. Could you get your fingerprints done now? Yeah, I guess, you could technically, but just make sure.
It's
Yeah.
effective, January.
January, oh, that's right. So January 1, if you wanted to take your fingerprints, you could, if you're due that year. So, am I correct?
When I was looking on there, I think it had to be 3 months before your expiration.
Right,
For
it couldn't be like,
fingerprints?
right,
Or
it can't,
just to put in like your
Yes,
CE.
okay. He's correct in that it's 2 to 3 months before. In other words, you can't start putting your CEUs until 2 months before. You can do it any earlier. Let's start with CEUs. You, I believe, can take your fingerprints before that. But logistics, when you call them, they will, and by the way, you can't call, there's a number, but you never get to speak to a human. And you can only go and get your fingerprints if you have an appointment. And that's done all on the internet. Okay, so just, first of you who are going through it for the first time, and then once you do your fingerprints with that agency for that state, you do not ever have to do it again. It's a one-time thing. Okay? All right. Margot is next.
You have 2
I
minutes.
have 2 minutes.
2 minutes, no.
Okay. All right, mine is the last handout that you all have here. And I know you want to get out of here, so I'll be as quick as I can. First of all, I'm going to be reviewing the 2019 marketing strategies and some of the new processes that we're going to implement. But I wanted to go over some real important intel that I hope everybody's heard about, because I did send out an email on this. By now, everybody should be aware of the El Paso Orthopedic Surgery Group transition period, I should say. We're not 100% sure where these physicians are going to land after December. The grapevine news is that they're looking to go under the umbrella of Tenet, most of the physicians. Palafox will probably be going with HCA, which is Las Palmas del Sol, and they're courting Cromer, HCA is, okay? Another update is HCA is also, I don't know what stage they're in, but are looking to acquire Foundations Hospital, and along with that would be Highlands Hospital Rehab, and along with that would be the Sides Group. So more to come with that, but just giving you all a highlight where everybody's kind of positioned right now. And then this information is not for the public right now. It's regarding Helson Pacheco. I was told that he may be leaving El Paso. So that's a neurosurgeon who does refer quite a bit to us. So I will keep you all posted on that. But again, that one's for just our knowledge here. But didn't want to shock you all if that happens anytime real soon. And then the 2019 calendars are out. I gave each OC 5 for each of your clinics, but these are what is being passed out to the physician offices right now. Okay, Dr. Heideman's office called me to ask me for these this year, which is great. So they have 10, so they should have them in each of their rooms, which is nice. Okay, so just wanted to kind of highlight, and also at the PPS conference, if we might have mentioned this at the last meeting, that Rudy was told that border therapy may be opening 2 more locations here in this area.
do we know anything about El Paso Specialty Hospital, what's happening with them? Or?
They're closing at the
And
end of
that's
the
it,
month.
and-
That's it. All the locations are closing. We were also told, thank you for bringing that up, that Tenet was going to try and keep the REMCON facility open so the doctors could still see some patients there. But that's all that we know. Otherwise, all the clinic locations were supposed to be closing. But as I get more information, I'll let you all know. And if you all hear anything out there, please let me know, and I'll disseminate an email to everyone, because it's just important that we all keep each other up to date on these changes. Because those doctors, as you know, are high referring physicians to all of our clinics. So regarding 2019 marketing strategies, we're going to have a new reporting system for marketing. And what I want to say is just impart to you all, if one thing to go away with today is we have to have all hands on deck, and that's from the front to the back. everybody in the business office, all staff members. It's not one person that does the public relations for our company. It's each and every one of us, not only while we're at work, but when we're out in public. And I can't stress that enough, that everybody needs to be educated on our programs and what we offer, and just kind of, praise each other up from all of our staff, who's seeing patients and what have you. On a global marketing level, what I'm going to be working on is for the year of 2019, kind of month by month, and putting in there any kind of community activities we're going to participate in. I was asked from somebody that in May, Raymond James, 2 women that own a Raymond James, one of their offices, they're going to be doing an all-women conference. So they've asked us to participate in a health fair. I know we don't always participate in health fairs, but where there may be an ROI on this, they're high-profile women here in the community. And, women are the ones that take care of family, usually health issues. So that's an important one. If you all have anything else, the EPPTS that you all just participated in, that walk run, we want to make sure we put that on our calendar. And this year I've asked them to make sure they request from us early so we can donate some money to also participate in that. Okay, not just a team. So that'll be an activity that, once I have that all together, I'll share that with you all. Quarterly blitzes will continue. We just did the health one with the apples and oranges and hand sanitizers. I'm still passing out some hand sanitizers because we had another order. Quarterly physician luncheons, we're going to target at least maybe 3 a quarter, and I'll ask the professionals to attend those with me, whether we're East, Horizon, or West Side. I'd like everybody to participate because it's important, I think, more now than ever, for your faces to be out there, not just mine. The clinicians are an important part, an integral part of patient care, and for the doctors to not know you is not good for us. We have small companies, small PT companies that are out there doing their own marketing. The owners are doing their own marketing, and they're making an impact. Cassie just shared with me Dr. Klein, because Excel's been getting some of his referrals, and then what's it called, P3? That card I showed you, the girl that's over on Schuster, she's going out and doing her own, and so they are sending some to her as well from Dr. Klein's. So we need to be vigilant more than ever to make our presence known. Physician office visits obviously continue. I know, Isaac, in 2019 you're going to be going out on your own, which I think is great. I appreciate your help to visit physicians. And then we talked about in one of our leadership meetings that we'd like to do some personalized seminars for each clinic. But we're not going to even look at that until after Q1, see where we are in the year. And then if there's like dry needling, East Side might want to do a dry needling seminar. Horizon Valley may want to do a posture program seminar or a BFR seminar, and we can individualize it to whatever your all needs are, what you want to do, and then we'll work on marketing that to those particular areas, okay? Physicians and patients. On a clinic regional marketing, this is to assure clinics attain understanding of clinic statistics and participate in marketing efforts. This one's very important. The new patient log is something we implemented, I think it's been in process the last 2 years, and we've been perfecting it along the way, but I can't begin to tell you how crucial this is because I think we've lost some patients and valuable patients from not having this. I just think it has to have an important emphasis in the front office staff. And on this, the OCs are really going to have to take control of this. You all can make it your own as far as what your process is to have each of your staff members. Every phone call we get from a patient, there should be a pen and a log sheet in hand to take down a name and number. Because we lost a physician's wife as a patient because that wasn't taken down. So whether it's a phone call, whether it's a website request that I forwarded to you for an appointment, so social media, phone calls, walk-ins, and faxes. Every patient that comes through the doors, comes through the phones, they need to be documented because we need to make sure we have appropriate follow-up and make sure nobody slips through the cracks. And that's what that log is for, because everybody gets so busy in their daily, whatever they're doing in the offices, you need to make sure that those are followed up with. So that's going to be something that the OCs will be reporting on at a weekly meeting. The wow factor, that's something that the OCs will direct and continue each month with the budget you all have. And then we are requesting, I know this has been something we've been asking for along the way, but it hasn't been monitored. This year in 2019, it'll be monitored on a monthly basis. That PTs send the personalized thank you notes to physicians. And you don't send one every month to Dr. Smith because that's very trite and it's not sincere. But make sure the OCs will be mailing those out for you, so they will take note of which physicians are being, or notes are going out on, and who the PT is that's sending them, so we can keep track of those and make sure those are being done. So, and then we don't want you to send, Amanda to send Dr. Smith one every quarter. It's just, and then kind of make it personal based on maybe one of the patients that you're currently working on with them. That's probably the better thing to do. So those will be, again, monitored by the OCs and reported in our weekly marketing meetings in 2019. On internal marketing, that'll be a review of case management, PT engagement, staff engagement as well. So under this, Lydia is the guru. I go to her with, she knows everything about insurance, which I think is fabulous that she retains all of that information. But she is your go-to person for all that. And as we get ready for 2019, like Chola, everybody said, last January 2018 was scary with the whole UHC, because these insurance come in with new protocols, processes, procedures, everything, and it throws everybody for a loop. So we need to be vigilant with each of our patients and their insurances and how we can help them, like you said, with co-pays and what have you. Progress notes, I know HB was very kind to share with us, thank you Rosie, on what their success on getting those progress notes turned back, and in tracking and keeping them timely by utilizing the patients to be part of that care and taking them back to the physicians to have them signed, because that's the quickest way we're going to get them returned. And please continue that. We were talking in our leadership meeting about the public relations responsibility not only being mine, but being, again, once again, all of yours. The professional staff, PT techs, front office is part of the PR for our company. And I brought up techs because I think the techs aren't as well educated as everyone else is in what El Paso Physical Therapy is about, and I think it's important that we take the time to educate them. And I don't know if that's a lead tech position that helps with their, keeping them up to date on all of our programs and processes. So they've asked me to put together a scripting, and I know everybody's articulation is different. This is just a template to refer to, and we need to be part of the public relations for our company with the patients and engage them to make sure they're going back to tell Dr. Westbrook, Dr. Heidemann, whoever they're seeing, that they had such a, especially when you're hearing them say, how great it was with you all. So just say, Mr. Smith, when you return to your physician, please let him or Dr. Westbrook or her know that you had a wonderful experience with us, and advise him or her that they should continue to refer patients to El Paso Physical Therapy. We also we would appreciate you sharing your experience with family and friends. We have a referral program. I don't know at what point you all reiterate the referral family and friends program to your patients, but make sure they have that knowledge before they leave, because $25 for a gift card is nice. And then along those same lines, as you're promote our open gym when the patients are at their end of episode of care, promote the BFR, the dry needling. When you're having conversations with these patients, they may be interested in something else, or one of their family members, may benefit from the BFR program. So it's important to promote services and team. When they're checking out and somebody goes and tells Rosie, Isaac's just great, he really helped me, Eric, blah, blah, and just say, yes, we have a great team. They have a lot of experience. Promote your staff for the patients as well, which is important. So I'm going to hand these out, and if the OCs can take 2 to give one to your lead tech, and please let them know why we're doing this, why we're asking them to be part of the program, because the techs are with the patients a lot. I see them working on their hands, or the dipping, the wax, and all that. So, while they're talking to the patient, they can have conversation about all things El Paso Physical Therapy services. Let's see, and then weekly marketing huddles. This is going to be new, and this is where case management will be on these calls. All the OCs will be on these calls. Rudy and I believe Sylvia will be on the calls with us. And this is where we're gonna start these January. So it'll be every Wednesday at 1:45 p.m. and I'll be sending out a calendar for you all. And we'll be utilizing the same conference call number to call in. And Lydia is going to be taking the case management communication, and you'll be updating us on these calls of all things insurance and any updates. So we're going to start the first week in January. So every week, so that way everybody's going to be, you know, on the same page with everything and all the changes that are coming down. And then the OCs in that meeting will be reporting the new patient log. So we'll be keeping up with that, the who, the how, the many, the whys, you know, any kind of intel on that. We'll be discussing and reporting on any physician activity or patient issues in a timely manner, because that's real important. If I find out something that happened a month later, that's not gonna do us any good. We'll be, you know, we need to make sure everybody's on the same page at all times. And then we'll be comparing week over week trending of particular physicians, any new intel you all hear, any new intel I hear, and we'll be discussing those on those phone calls. But those again will be every Wednesday, just so that the CDs know, 1:45 p.m. And then I believe you all have a call after that with Sylvia at 2:15. So that's kind of a quick overview. I know you all are anxious to get out. Oh, and on that, I made a notation. Somebody was talking about notifying when we start again. If there's any reason that we lose a patient for financial reasons, whatever it may be, we put a revision out, and I think Sandra and Cassie, you should have those too. The revision letter that we did, Rosie, the one that had list all the reasons why they possibly couldn't have come in. If you guys could be very vigilant, you know, either you all do it or assign somebody in your office to do it to make sure those letters go out to the physician so they become part of the patient's record as to why we couldn't get them in here, instead of them going back and saying we never called. It could be due to financial, it could be due to they didn't think they needed therapy. Okay, so those letters are really important for us to have out there. And then one last tidbit of information, the Christmas party is Friday at Coralitos, 12:30. I, right now, as of now, have 48 RSVPs, so if the OCs can just kind of do another round and just make sure if anybody decides to cancel, let me know ahead of time, okay? Other than that, we'll see you all at 12:30 on Friday. It'll be fun. Looking forward to it.
Lots of info.
Done and done, lots of info. Thanks.
Everybody be safe as you travel back. The meeting's been adjourned. Keep your documents. And then if you can help us put everything back real quick, that would be greatly appreciated.